So, a new report this week as we continue our chat about the effects of climate change. The World Meteorological Organization suggesting there is a 2 in 3 chance that global temperatures will temporarily at least exceed a 1.5 Celsius increase within the next 5 years. Now, what does this mean for climate change? What does this mean for Canada as well? Joining us to chat about that is Djordje Romanic. He's with McGill University. George, thanks so much for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Good morning. My pleasure.
So would you be surprised when we saw this week? It seems like this got a lot of media coverage, but would you be surprised this week that we'd be reaching this threshold so quickly?
No, not really. We have indicators over the last several decades that temperatures are increasing, and it is not surprising that, now we've got more media coverage than it was maybe before, so we are talking about it, but temperatures are steadily increasing, particularly since the 1970s, globally as well as regionally here in Canada. So it's not a big surprise for me.
And I guess maybe more media coverage as well could be included because the 2015 Paris Agreement did kind of have this as a benchmark for when we could start to see some kind of catastrophic issues with climate change. So just with this 1.5% on a global scale, or 1.5 degrees, should we be starting to sound the alarm, even more so than what we've already been doing?
I absolutely agree. I'm not saying that the media coverage is negative. I think it should have been even more in the past, and more information coming into media from academia, and more information really coming to public from academia regarding our contribution to greenhouse gas budget globally as well as regionally here in Canada.
And here in Canada, I know we kind of stand to see some of the more catastrophic impacts just because of the way we're situated with our polar caps as well. We have a big northern region. I guess when we start to see some of the effects there, is that where Canada is most vulnerable with any kind of increase in global temperature?
That is correct. So in Canada, we are experiencing almost approximately double warming compared to the rest of the world on average. But even that effect is not uniform across Canada. So northern Canada, northern territories are experiencing the largest effects of global warming. For example, mean annual temperature in the northern part of Canada has risen for 2.3 degrees Celsius in the period 1948-2016. And that is a very, very significant increase in temperature. That's particularly important or interesting when we know that these territories really do not contribute pretty much anything in terms of greenhouse gas emissions. So they don't contribute pretty much anything, but yet they suffer most when it comes to Canada.
Yeah, somewhat of an irony for sure, but definitely the way we've seen other ecosystems also affected as well. We've seen kind of more extreme weather events over the past few years as well. I guess tipping away to how else this would kind of impact Canada outside of the north is that one thing. Alberta is on fire right now once again. Is it more of those style of events?
Yes, so we expect more precipitation. It's not a clear consensus, but probably there will be more flooding in Ontario and Canada generally. We will definitely have a little bit longer growing season, which might be good, but that is outweighed by the other negative factors such as, increased frequency of heat waves, increased droughts, and we will have more really very hot nights. That's what numerical simulations suggest. So we should prepare for that for sure.
And I know this has kind of been a banner of this federal government in terms of trying to keep this at the top of the forefront and an issue, but, Canadians have also, they want to do something about this. I think at last check, 80% want us to do more about climate change. So just from your estimation, where do we see this? Is this more investment at the municipal level, at the federal level? Where can we kind of start to make some headway on some of these issues, I guess?
Across all scales, really. For example, in 2021, Canada emitted approximately 670 megatons of CO2. That's 1.8% increase, since 2020. So we are increasing our emission. Particularly, we are increasing when it comes to oil and gas and transport. Now, in terms of transport, that contributes approximately 20% of our greenhouse gas emissions. And it's really not passenger cars. It's not regular people on the streets. It's heavy, heavy trucks. So if something needs to be done, in my opinion, on both provincial and federal level, we need to decrease the amount of heavy trucks on our roads, which are contributing really significantly in terms of transportation emissions. And then, of course, oil and gas contributes to approximately another 30% of our emissions in Canada. So these two sectors alone, if we can do something about them and decrease CO2 emissions from these sectors, we would do a lot.
Do you see any optimism in even, the big car companies have kind of just, even because of the market, have kind of switched gears and moving towards more electrics? Does that give you a lot of optimism that even, some of the most powerful and successful car companies are moving away from oil and gas?
Yes, I agree. That is very positive trend. But the issue is, I believe that these technologies are still not as economic and cheap as just using diesel. All these big trucks are diesel trucks, and that's still the most economically attractive option, and something needs to be done on that in terms of both policy, but as well as technology, research and science, at least maybe improving efficiency of these vehicles.
And aid in a transition, absolutely. But we'll leave it there for this morning. Djordje, thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate it this morning.
My pleasure.
Djordje Romanic with McGill University talking about climate change.